Imagine this. Your dreams are calling. But will you answer that call? 2005 was the year that I decided I wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship was not foreign to me. When I was a child, I always wanted my own things. And we was limited. My mother was a single mother. She was really working hard to provide for us. And all the kids had the latest gaming stations and Jordans, and they had all the toys that possible that all the kids would have. And we would ask my mother, like, Mom, can I get that? And my mom was like, well, you don't need that. And I didn't understand the balance between needs and wants. And I had a lot of wants, but my mother said, no, you don't need that. And so I decided to take my destiny in my own hands. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start me a business. So I started to sell candy to the kids, and I started to sell sugar. And y'all probably don't know about sugar, but we used to make Kool-Aid and put it in a bag and sell it to the kids. And I started to make my own money, and that's when the dreamer was born. That's when the visionary was born. And I always knew that 2005 was going to come. And so I was working the 9-to-5 job, and I was really getting into wanting to figure out what I wanted to do. And I got this bold idea to open up a janitorial service. Now, janitorial, I don't like cleaning up my own house, let alone starting a business cleaning up somebody else's house. But I got into that business because it was an easy entry point, and it didn't cost me a lot of money to do it. So I could go to the Dollar General store, buy some Pine Sol, a mop, and a broom, and I was in business. And so I was like, you know, I'm going to step out and I'm going to do this. But I got nervous. So I went to church, and the preacher preached this sermon called Water Walkers. And he was talking about stepping out on faith. And I knew, I was like, that is my sign. I heard it, that's it, and I'm going to go turn in my 2-week notice. Well, I typed up my notice, I got to work, and I got nervous. I said, no, I can't do this. I can't leave comfort. I can't leave benefits. I can't do any of this to start a business that really doesn't make sense. It doesn't align with what I like. I hate cleaning up. So why would I want to start a business cleaning up? And so I was still debating, and I went back to church, and the preacher preached the same message. Water walkers. And I typed up my 2-week notice, and I prayed, and I said, no matter how hard it gets, I'm never going to work for anybody ever again. And boy, why did I pray that prayer? Because it's gotten hard. As a full-time entrepreneur for over 19 years, it has been the roller coaster that I didn't know that I didn't really need in my life. And so I really tried to figure out ways that how can I be successful being an entrepreneur without having the resources? And so I never really had everything that I needed. So I always say I was a day late and a dollar short all the time. And there's a movie, it's a popular movie by the name of Friday. And Chris Tucker is the actor in the movie Friday. And he went over his friend's house and asked his friend, hey man, do you have some cereal? And his friend responded and said, man, I don't have any milk. And he said, man, you never have two things that match. He said, you have ham, no burger, peanut butter, no jelly, Kool-Aid, no sugar. And I felt like that when it came to my dreams. I felt like I never had two things that matched. I felt like I had the vision. I had the big ideas, but I lacked the money. I had the ideas that I could change the world, but I lacked the help. I didn't have the people to really help me actually execute this dream. But I figured out what I could do is I could shift my focus. And shifting your focus can really help you propel your dreams. Because the focus was, I always focus on what I didn't have instead of focusing on what I did have. So I didn't have the money, but I had the relationships. I didn't really have the team, but I knew how to figure it out. I knew I was determined to figure this out. And that's how I approached really launching my idea. So I built that janitorial service. And one thing about entrepreneurship is like we always have these ideas. Our brain never stops. It's always constant and our brain never stops. So around 2008, I decided that I was going to sell my janitorial service and I was going to get into what is known the restaurant business, which is the hardest business in the world to get into. Do I have experience in the restaurant business? No. But I decided I was going to get into the restaurant business. So I sold my successful janitorial service. I put all my money into this restaurant, and I lost it all in 30 days. 30 days. Because I didn't have the experience. But I had the will, the know-how. I was ambitious. And I said, man, we're going to open up this coffee shop in this area called Murfreesboro, and we're gonna be open 24 hours. And I've never made a coffee in my life. And I had staff that didn't know how to make coffee. So I invested all this money into this dream and this idea, and I lost it all. And what happened was that during that time I was depressed. I was sad. I was trying to figure it out. And so this voice, I meant to start the talk off to say that I hear voices. I really do. I hear voices. And 2008, after my greatest loss, I'm depressed. I hear this voice tells me to do something outrageous. So I'm on the corner of 7th and Jefferson. Jefferson Street is a historic area in Nashville, Tennessee. It houses three HBCUs. So it houses Fisk University, Tennessee State University, and also a Meharry Medical College. And so this is like a historic street. When you hear about Music City, it comes from that street. And there was a for lease sign in this really, really pretty building, 624 Jefferson Street. And I saw this lease sign. Now, mind you, I'm broke, busted, and disgusted. So I see this for lease sign in this building, and I said, man, I gotta have that space. So I'm going to this space every single day, looking in the mirror, looking in the window, looking in the window, looking in the window. And the landlord showed up and stated, he said, man, you are here every single day looking in this window. You might as well get the space. And I said, man, you are right. I might as well get the space. And I signed the lease to pay $2,200 a month. And I didn't know where the money was coming from. I had $200 in my bank account. So I signed that lease. I rode around the neighborhood. I was riding my bike, riding around the neighborhood. And that voice came to me. He said, hey, son, open up a dry cleaners. Like, open up a dry cleaners? I'm like, why am I getting all these ideas of all the things I hate to do? Like, I don't do laundry. I hate laundry. I don't iron my own clothes. My mama ironed my clothes. Like, what am I doing? And it said, open up a dry cleaners. And I said, okay. So I figured it out, like all things. And I was in that space for 14 years. 14 years without the experience of doing dry cleaners. And so as an entrepreneur, I'm very passionate about giving back to the community. I'm passionate about really building up other entrepreneurs. And so you get pulled in all these different spaces to, be a thought leader in these spaces. So 2019, the Chamber of Commerce asked me, they said, oh, Josh, we want you to be a part of this leadership study mission to really study everything Nashville has going on. And then we're going to take this trip to Austin, Texas, to see what they have going on and see if we're going to bring those ideas back to Nashville. And I was like, yes, I'm excited. Let's do this. So we spent 10 weeks really learning everything Nashville had going on. At the end of those 10 weeks, we traveled to Austin, Texas. We were going to all these spaces that were technology hubs. And they were in there raising tons of money, and they were learning how to code, and they were doing all these things. And that voice that I've been hearing for the last 20 years came back to me. And he said, hey, I want you to open up a technology school. I said, come on, man. You're killing me. He said, I want you to open up a technology school. And I really started to look at all the things like my deficits. Technology. I barely know how to turn on my phone. All I know how to do is text and scroll. Why would I open up a technology school? And it just kept telling me. So I said, you know what? All right, I'm listening. I'm going to go back home, and I'm going to figure this out. So all of 2019, I figured it out. I finally convinced the community that this dry cleaning man, the George Jefferson of North Nashville, was going to open up a technology school. People thought, oh man, this man is crazy. He is losing his mind. And so the community finally got wind and said, okay, this is what he's going to do. We're going to support it. And so we finally decided to start our classes on March the 3rd, 2020. So March the 3rd, 2020 was the very first day of classes. Let's go to March the 2nd. So March the 2nd, I'm in my dry cleaners, and we are planning out, and Mondays are our busiest days. I mean, we have clothes everywhere. I occupied the whole space, so I had a co-working space and an event space, and I really thought like this was going to be my future. My son would work the cash register. My family was in there working, and this was going to be the legacy that I was going to leave my family. And so that day I felt great. We was planning. We had big plans and dreams and goals, and I went home and went to bed. I was really tired that day. And so 1 o'clock in the morning hits, and if you're from Nashville, you know that they test those sirens all day long. So anytime you're going to hear a siren. And that night I was hearing sirens, but I slept through it. I'm like, I don't need to get up. And so my wife was like, hey, there's a tornado. Do you want to get in the closet? I said, get in the closet? Man, these sirens go off all the time. I don't need to get in the closet. And so I slept through it. And then my phone started to ring over and over and over and over and over again. And it was my dad. He just kept calling me. So I answered the phone. I said, Dad, what's going on, man? Why you just keep calling me? He said, turn it on the news. I think you've been hit. I said, think I've been hit? I'm okay. He said, turn it on the news. And I turned it on the news, and my building was hit by a tornado, wiped off the map. So my dreams and goals and vision that I thought that I was going to pass on was in the dirt. And I thought like God was punishing me for something. I'm like, man, why am I going through this? I lost it all. And all I could hear was a voice saying, look, just look, just look. I'm like, what? What are you saying? So then 2 weeks later, COVID hits. So we have a tornado, then we have COVID. And I always say ideas are like umbrellas preparing you for storms that you don't know is coming. And so if I didn't really tap into or answer the call to say, man, you need to open up a technology school, I would have been unprepared, stressed out when life challenges hit me. But I answered the call. I said, you know what? I'm going to do something that's unfamiliar. I don't have the experience. I don't have the know-how. But if I put my feet forward, if I move in the direction I want to go, everything I need will show up. And boy, did it show up. So I'm really just here to tell you that imagine that your dreams are calling out to you every day, those urges, those feelings in your gut that you know that you're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be stepping out in doing all the things you want to do. But will you answer the call? Thank you.